He built a multi-million-dollar empire off the dirty laundry of his own people. He transformed the Hall of Fame football career into a digital interrogation room, monetizing the trauma and the gossip of the culture. But the moment the spotlight turned on him, the culture proved how completely broken its moral compass actually is. We ignored a $50 million civil lawsuit detailing severe misconduct. We ignored the allegations of physical threats and non-consensual recordings. Instead, the entire internet decided to hyper-focus on his fashion choices, his tote bags, and the pitch of his voice. Today, we're executing a forensic autopsy on Shannon Sharpe. We're exposing the cultural hypocrisy of Club Shay. But more importantly, we're diagnosing the deep ancestral trauma that causes the black community to prioritize homophobia over actual accountability. What up, y'all? It's your boy, yo man, aka O the Dread. Now, I'm stepping into the spotlight today because the conversation surrounding Shannon Sharpe is lazy, low vibration, and utterly disconnected from reality. We're going to dismantle the respectability shield, expose the sloppy triage of the timeline, and prove exactly why the obsession with Shannon Sharpe's private life is the symptom of a 400-year-old disease. Let's dissect the Shay charade. To understand the fall from grace, you have to examine the height of the pedestal. Shannon Sharpe is an NFL icon, a 3-time Super Bowl champion. For decades, he was the loud, brash, hyper-masculine alpha of the gridiron. He transitioned seamlessly into the corporate boardrooms of CBS and Fox Sports, becoming the beloved unk of sports media. But Sharpe recognized a massive financial loophole in the digital age. He realized that corporate sports analysis had a ceiling. So he built Club Shay and Nightcap. He pivoted from a journalist to a trauma broker. He commodified the unfiltered chaos of the culture. He brought in Katt Williams, Tyrese, and Kel Mitchell and extracted their industry secrets and personal grievances for multi-million-dollar payouts. He demanded total, humiliating transparency from his guests to drive his own revenue. But here's the structural paradox. Sharpe constructed a litigious fortress to maintain his own absolute opacity. He demands humiliating real talk from the culture, but when faced with his own $50 million reckoning, he utilizes confidential out-of-court settlements to bury the truth in paperwork. He created a club that even he refuses to be a member of. Alright, hold up. Because this is the exact moment social media lost its mind. In September of 2024, Sharpe accidentally broadcasted a private encounter on Instagram Live. The digital hitmen didn't care about the breach of privacy, they cared about the opportunity. Look at the gossip merchants. Slop commentators like Tasha K and Poetic Flacco became the active agents of the disease we're diagnosing. When investigating the documented lawsuits didn't garner the engagement they hoped, they launched a crusade to expose Sharpe's alleged relationship with his male stylist. They claimed the entire broadcast on Instagram Live was a staged fraudulent PR stunt to cover up his secret alternative lifestyle. The internet spent weeks dissecting the man's gait, his fanny packs, and his fashion choices. They continue to put his masculinity on trial until this very day. But while the entire culture was debating his lifestyle, they completely ignored the actual devastating reality waiting in the courtroom. Let's look at the filings. The financial and legal reality is terrifying. While the timeline was making memes about fanny packs and voice pitches, a 19-year-old Jane Doe filed a $50 million civil lawsuit against Sharpe in Nevada. The complaint didn't allege a fashion faux pas. It alleged a campaign of coercive control, physical threats, and severe physical misconduct. It alleged that Sharpe secretly recorded their encounters. It alleged that when she tried to share her location with friends, he grabbed her by the neck and threatened to end her life. There's another lawsuit in New York by Michelle Evans citing non-consensual encounters dating back to 2010. Faced with the catastrophic discovery process of a $50 million lawsuit, Sharpe's legal team folded. They took the settlement road. In July 2025, the case was dismissed with prejudice following a confidential out-of-court payout. He bought his way out of the courtroom, but the corporate machine had seen enough. ESPN refused to renew his contract. They severed ties with the Hall of Famer, proving that even a broadcast giant can't survive the institutional gravity of violent allegations. The timeline completely ignored the $50 million misconduct lawsuit, but they'll generate 1 million tweets if a man wears a fitted shirt. This is the exact definition of moral imbalance. Look at the Sean Diddy Combs situation. During his trial, the culture consumed the caricature of Freaky Diddy. We hyper-focused on the baby oil jokes, the extravagant parties, and the rumors of lifestyle fluidity. But when the actual horrifying footage dropped of Diddy brutally attacking Cassie Ventura in a hotel hallway, what did the culture do? They victim blamed her. They asked, why did she stay? They excused the savage beatings as the cost of a luxury lifestyle. This community will excuse documented violent predatory behavior from an alpha male, but will launch a holy war against a man because they suspect his personal preferences might not align with their traditions. We treat minor infractions against traditional gender roles as existential threats to the race, while treating actual physical battery against black women as nuisance litigation. We have to ask the critical question, why? Where does this specific venomous obsession with policing masculinity come from? The answer is buried in the traumatic architecture of American history. Contemporary homophobia in the Black community is not a natural cultural artifact. It's an ontological trauma response. During chattel slavery, the Black body was systematically ungendered. The horrors of the Middle Passage and the plantation system stripped Black men of the traditional protections of manhood. The practice of buck-breaking, the deliberate public humiliation and emasculation of defiant enslaved men left an ancestral, psychological scar in the diaspora. To survive this dehumanization, the community developed a defense mechanism known as respectability politics, which I've talked about on this channel before. Check out my videos on Don Lemon, Nicki Minaj, and Candace Owens. Following emancipation and throughout the Jim Crow era, Black leadership realized that the only way to gain political legitimacy from a hostile white society was to mirror their most rigid, puritanical values. They had to prove they were civilized. They had to project the image of the stable, traditional, hypermasculine nuclear family to refute the racist, controlling images that painted Black people as primitive savages. The Black church, as the primary institution of survival, enforced this gender complementarianism to preserve community cohesion. The pulpit was used to condemn any deviation from the norm, framing non-traditional lifestyles as a white disease that weakened racial solidarity. Respectability politics was a survival tool. It was a shield against white supremacy. But today, that shield has become a weapon used against our own people. Shannon Sharpe is a mirror reflecting a deeply fractured culture. He weaponized the real talk aesthetic to build a digital empire, demanding transparency from his guests while utilizing high-priced attorneys and secret NDAs to build a fortress around his own alleged violence. He's the ultimate hypocrite of the podcast era. But the true villain in this autopsy isn't just the host. It's the audience. The hyper-focus on Shannon Sharpe's lifestyle choices is a devastating indictment of our collective psychology. We're a people so deeply scarred by the historical trauma of slavery and religious indoctrination that we prioritize the performance of hypermasculinity over the protection of human life. We're obsessed with who a person is sleeping with rather than investigating how they treat the people they sleep with. We'll forgive a predator as long as he plays the role of the bad guy, but we'll excommunicate a man for carrying a designer bag. Respectability should never be based on who you love. It must be based on how you love, how you operate, and how you treat the vulnerable when the cameras are turned off. As long as we prioritize the performance of a respectable, traditional image over the actual safety of our community, true liberation is impossible. We're just policing each other to maintain a marketable version of Blackness for the white gaze. Stop outsourcing your moral compass to internet hitmen and gossip blogs. Demand a culture where survival is never mistaken for consent, and where our outrage is reserved for the violence of the powerful, not the private lives of the marginalized. We must detach from this traumatic inheritance. We've been judged for who we love so much that we've forgotten how to love. And that is the nastiest work of all. That's the video. If you're exhausted by the digital chameleons, the gossip merchants, and the trauma-informed hypocrisy of the timeline, drop a comment right now. Is the hyper-focus on Shannon Sharpe's lifestyle a distraction from the real issues, or is it just the inevitable result of the culture he helped build? I want to read your perspective. I'm constructing this platform to dismantle the illusions. We're building an army of truth tellers. Hit subscribe if you respect cold hard facts over manufactured hysteria. Go watch my deep dives on the rest of the digital grifters here and here. Until next time, if nothing else, then you already know the motto. Be the person you'd like to meet. Peace.
Oh man, I'm about to pop out. And you know I brought the drop out.